right. And Simon, you were
All
just
right.
telling us what it would be that you would need to buy an electric car.
I might not be the worst person to ask because I'm so persnickety about this stuff. But I think a tipping point is the same. It's the same kind of thing that you get with anything else. It's got to be better than my experience with a gasoline car. And I think we're getting there very quickly. And I got to remember a lot of my experiences with gasoline cars are based on mostly just repetition. Like some of the things that are great, that I think are great about gasoline cars, I don't need, for example.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, when I look at some, like what I was saying about the Elantra, I do not need to drive the way that I need to drive.
Right.
Like, there's no need for that. Okay. So, and then there's also as technology comes down, more cars will start to perform like the Teslas do now.
Yeah.
And the Teslas will perform like something else entirely by then also.
Sure.
So I've given this some thought also to that same question that I asked you. For me, I have my answer in this side of the screen over here. So I'd want it to be below $30,000 Canadian.
That would be good.
The starting price has to be below, not including incentives, right? So right now we have an incentive in Ontario of about, I think, $7,500. So if we went up and bought a pure EV, it would be whatever that much less, right? I agree with the guy from Tesla Nation. I wouldn't want to count that incentive as part of my cost. It would be like a yay bonus after the fact if I do get it.
Right.
And then I'd be throwing in like $10,000 worth of upgrades. So it really needs to be cost competitive, but there's a couple of different places that you look in terms of cost competitiveness between a car at that point and an EV. And one of those comes back down to the moving parts. And you were talking about maintenance before, throwing crap in to take my car away. I just wouldn't buy that car. Simple as that. The other car where the maintenance is actually an EV car, there's not a lot of maintenance. There's not a lot of moving parts, right? You might spend more money getting it vacuum cleaned or something like that. But with a gasoline vehicle, I think it was 0.07 cents or 7 cents, 007, yeah, 7 cents per kilometer of maintenance that you get on my type of car. So on an Elantra, that's what you would get. As you get more expensive, of course, that number gets higher, and that's not enough. That number doesn't even come close to 7 cents on an EV. The other thing about an EV is the power that you're using in the EV is going to be consistently priced. So what the weekend before Victoria Holiday, or what is it, Canada Day is coming up in a couple of weeks, we all know gasoline is going to be creeping up like that, right? For the next, it was $100 2 days ago. It'll be $115 in a week. I know this. You know this. I don't know what it is. What is it over there? Just curiosity. What's gas over there?
It's $125.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I'm on an island, and then I'm on the West Coast. I think a lot of that is, I don't know.
Yeah. So
spending money for somebody else.
You might want to think about an EV.
Yeah. Well, did you see the map of Vancouver? I guess people are starting to really think about them.
Actually, yeah. That does make a little bit of sense. So that's what I want. In terms of range, I'd like it to be able to get me to Montreal and back. So there's probably 4 en route stations on the way. So I'd be able to, if I could get one stop on the way to Montreal, right? So that would give me, I think, Montreal to here is about 550 kilometers. What do I have? I have the actual number. It is 542 kilometers. So that would give me a range of, I don't know what number. I don't believe I did that properly. I think it's 262 kilometers, so 270 kilometers. If I can get that far on an EV, then I'm a lot more interested in it, I think.
Drivable. Yeah, easily.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you're going from day to day, that's you don't need that much. And I don't go on a trip often. Like when I was saying about going to Point Pelee, I don't do that often. But when you do want to go, I don't know that you want to stop 5 times a day to supercharge your car for half an hour.
Must be a really relaxing trip if you think about it. Well, think about how loud a car is the whole time you're driving.
Oh yeah, you're not going to hear a thing.
You're like for 4 hours. You come out buzzing. You know,
when I got back from Point Pelee, I was just like,
yeah, exactly. So you get all that noise and you don't realize it. So driving down the street in an EV, they're apparently whisper quiet. Right? So,
we've had hybrids. My parents have had hybrids since hybrids became a thing, and they are very quiet.
Yeah.
I loved riding it. I loved driving it. When I started driving the Camry, on Steels over here.
Yeah.
Steels. Okay, so I was driving the Camry on Steels, like, I don't know, a decade ago, and my mom's in the car, and I look down, and I'm doing 120 on Steels Avenue.
Ouch.
And that's
street racing.
Yeah, so we have a law here. It's called street racing. If you double the speed limit, or if it's 50% or more, I think you lose your car, you lose your keys, you lose your license. And so
and they're just like, give it over, get everything
which
over.
At the fastest point at Steels, which is I think where I live, and that's not where I was driving. I was driving Toronto. It's 80 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't even realize because it was so smooth, right? So that's the sort of thing I think you're going to have to get used to as a driver. I could deal with that. So when people start buying these things, I'm not going to go to this page.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you about it. It is in the links, most definitely. We teased about the links last week, but this is in the links. So what happened with Norway in Canada and other people? One of the problems, other than range anxiety, is battery capacity and how it will go down in the winter. So I found this example of Norway, which is brilliant. So Norway has the largest active fleet of EV cars of any country, and they're a cold country. And they have now 5% of the vehicles are EVs, which is a really, really high number. And the other thing about this, there's two numbers. So one of them is that I got from the Teslanomics guy, but the other one I found elsewhere, and they kind of work well together. The Teslanomics guy was pointing out how the purchase of the EVs had been increasing year over year at double-digit rates.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 years in Norway, and to the point where it's almost 50% of the vehicles that are being sold are EVs. And then when you look at the last few years of what the fleet is on the road, it went from 1% to 2%, to 5% over the same period of time. So you can see a lot of cars being retired and a lot of EVs coming in. And it's the same sort of climate that we have here in Canada. So I don't know what the incentives are. I don't know what else is going on, but clearly it's something that we can do here. So anybody who says, well, it's cold here and you can't do it, I'm like, oh, well, it's cold in Norway too. And they figured it out.
Probably colder at some points.
I think it's colder. Norway seems like a cold place to me.
It's more northern than
not the people.
Ontario. No. They seem warm and wonderful.
Yes, but the weather seems cold.
Weather's chilly.
Ski-like. Yeah. I'd like to ski in Norway. So yeah, and then
I've never been.
A bunch of stuff I'm going to skip. The other one of the other things here that's really important about the EVs is the amount of fuel. Did we touch that, Simon?
The amount of fuel in
the relative cost.
Yeah. No, we haven't quite touched on that yet. I think we touched on it outside of the show.
Okay, so that was significant. So that's like an eighth of the cost. I think this kind of touches on what we were talking about with the gasoline prices going up and down and up and down. Well, the cost of your EV is going to be somewhat standard because of the cost of electricity being standard, and then the overall cost of operating the EV is about an eighth the cost of gasoline. At least right now it is. So a sixth to an eighth. So those are just things, those sorts of numbers, as they start to come together, make me want to get an EV more and more. So
yeah, it'll make a lot more sense when it becomes a thing where gasoline is a burden compared
which
to
is
the
it's
EV.
become like I drive a small car.
Yeah, it's coming in. It's on its way.
You drive a big car.
Yeah, yeah.
What
those are great
what
choices,
does it fill up for you, by the way?
It's like, it's actually, you know what? It's not bad. I'm not gonna say it's terrible. It's like $70 right now.
Okay, so a fill up for me in Ontario here is about anywhere between $40 and $45. If it gets up to $50, it's like, oh my God, gas is expensive. And yes, but we drive very different vehicles, right?
Yeah, and that thing just eats gas. We don't drive it a lot though.
Well, I drive. I live in the burbs, and we have to drive everywhere here.
Yeah.
But I love getting to the gas station. This is like a sick pleasure, and I see the pump at 145. I'm like, oh, you suck. You suck.
Yeah.
I probably like your vehicle, but $145 of gas.
It hurts. It really does. Like,
Yeah.
oh no.
No, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Do not want to do that. All right, so you have the Giga Factory stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Giga Factory.
All right. So I'm gonna put. Oh wait, Simon.
So powering a lot of this EV talk that we're going on about is Tesla's Giga Factory. I don't know if they're going to be selling batteries to their competitors. I can't imagine that they wouldn't though.
Okay, just a sec, though, Simon.
Yeah.
Can you give me a moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because we're at like 11 minutes.
Oh,